Namaskar. So it's after a long time that we are starting this series of talks on inspired talks by Swami Vivekananda. So first, we begin with Pranam Mantra. This Pranam Mantra is dedicated to Swamiji. Om Namah Shri Atirajaya Vivekananda Sure Sachet Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. We have covered just a few pages of this book, excellent book, Inspired Talks. And those of you who might have been listening to these talks would remember that while staying in America, Swamiji had gone with some chosen disciples to a place called Thousand Island Parks. There were roughly 10 to 12 disciples, and every morning Swamiji used to deliver talks based on some books. And there was this lady, Waldo. She later on, after the class, she used to make notes for herself in longhand. So what has come to us is not a full recording. They're pretty sketchy. But it's powerful. There is this tradition in Indian literature that a teacher used to teach the disciples, and then he used to write down the entire thing in sutra form, known as aphorism, known as sutras. And those disciples used to memorize those sutras. And that's how the entire Indian philosophical system, grammar, and everything has come to us in sutra form. Now, after hundreds of years, people used to forget what exactly those sutras mean. So, a commentary used to be written just to explain the idea. The inspired talks have come to us like sutras, and in every generation, we will need to write a commentary on this. And we have mentioned earlier how the gist of the world of religions, not only Hinduism, not only Vedanta, but practically every religion is covered in this book, the essence of those religions. And this small book, Inspired Talks, should be studied by everyone who is interested in religion and spirituality. In our those of you who might have complete works of Swami Vivekananda, you will get this in the 7th volume. And this small book, it also comes as an independent book, Inspired Talks. Now, when Swamiji had reached, practically from the next day, the discussion had begun. 3 or 4 days have passed, and now it's June 24th, Monday, and Swamiji is talking from the Bhakti Sutras by Narada. So it requires a bit of elaboration. There are two important things here. One is Bhakti itself, and second is by Narada. First, Narad Bhakti Sutra, the idea of Bhakti literature. As we mentioned just a while ago, that to sum up the teachings of one particular system, whatever that system might be, great teachers used to jot them down in point form. And they used to be aphoristic, a few words only. And just by seeing those words, remembering those words, and recapitulating those words, a competent disciple would know what exactly it signified. In Bhakti literature, there are many great teachers who wrote like this. Narad is one of them. Now, see, Narad Bhakti Sutra demands an entire series of talks, which is not possible in this series. But those of you who can understand Bengali, and as I say, that anyone who knows any of these Indian languages, well, he can understand Bengali. It's not so difficult. And I speak in very simple language, whatever language I speak. And now, Narad Bhakti Sutra's talks have been uploaded on YouTube, and the complete talk is there on Narad Bhakti Sutra. If you are interested in the topic, and if you think you can understand Bengali, do please listen. It's a very important series of talks. Now, from there, we move over to Bhakti. That is love for God. Devotion. What is devotion? Now, in recent times, some people are trying to make Advaita very popular. Everyone is talking about Brahmasmi and Advait and Kya Vivek Chudamani and Astavakra Gita. And so, first let's understand what is Bhakti and what is Jnana. What is Brahmasmi and what is loving God? How they are related? What exactly they are? So, the best way to understand, now before we proceed with what Swamiji is saying, we need to have a small introduction. Think of, I'm giving you an example. And those of you who have an imaginative mind can make a story out of it. Those of you who might have read my book Tia, A Parrot's Journey Home, would know how there is that parrot. It leaves its home banyan and goes through myriads of experiences, and finally it becomes one with the guide. And when it returns as the same parrot, but everything has changed within him. Now, instead of this bird Tia, take the case of, just imagine there's a fish, and let's say it's a sea fish, and it stays in a very small pond, not large, very small pond. Now, this being a story, we can give it real imaginary touches. Now, just imagine that someone tells this fish that you don't belong here. You belong to the ocean. Ocean is the right place for you. Now, initially, that fish will not like to believe it. But let's assume that finally it believes. And then it starts making its journey. And then, maybe moving through the fish, taking as through a river and through series of rivers. And at times, maybe moving over the land where it cannot. It's an imaginary story. Finally, it reaches the shores of the ocean. This is where it concerns us. Now imagine the fish that had heard about the ocean while staying in the pond. And from there, this desire came to its mind that it has to reach the ocean. And through all these struggles, through all the great difficulties, it finally reaches that shore and sees that vast expanse. Personally, I am not an ocean type. Personally, I am more of Himalayas type. I love Himalayas and I love going to the Himalayas. But I had also heard of ocean, and first time I saw an ocean was when I was, I think, more than 30. And I saw it, the first time I saw an ocean was in Visakhapatnam, Vizag. I had gone on tour to South India, and it was such a beautiful sight. Huge, huge. And I just watched and watched and watched. And the brother monk who was there, he was told me, "Come on, don't fall in love with this. Let not your mind be obsessed with this." He was just joking. Now imagine the plight of this fish. It is now on the bank of the ocean, looking at the hugeness, the majesty, the infinite nature of the ocean. What will be its feeling? See, all of you who have been listening to me, I'm sure you have very powerful emotions. Unless you have powerful emotions, you cannot be spiritual. And definitely you won't be listening to these talks. And those who have powerful emotions, they're very imaginative. They're intelligent. Just that they don't, emotions should not be applied in the wrong direction, not in the wrong areas. Now, so you can imagine what would be the feeling of that fish knowing that that's my real abode, that's my real me. And then finally, it makes that jump, huge jump. Now, where is the ocean and where is the fish? Well, fish and ocean actually have become one. See, because it's a story, and in this story, we are just trying to make clear certain ideas. So you will say that, well, fish is an entity and ocean is an entity. True. But when you say the word ocean, the fish, all the fish that are there are automatically included in that. Brahman, the supreme reality, the pure consciousness, is not a physical entity where you will have Brahman and you will have some Atman and you will have some individual and you will have Samarpanananda and you will have this Ananda, that Ananda. No, it's pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is pure consciousness. It neither increases in size nor it decreases in size. Nothing happens. As we proceed with this series of talks, ideas will become more and more and more clear. Now, what happens to that fish? Now, it is home. And it is now experiencing unalloyed bliss, unalloyed joy. It's so full of joy. If it wants, sometimes it can come back to the shore and then look at the majesty. At other times, it will merge. It will merge completely with the ocean. It will be one with the ocean. Bhakti is when you are standing at the shore and looking at that supreme consciousness, pure consciousness. Gyan is when you make the jump and be one with it. And bhakti is once again you when you come out and look at that ocean. There's this discussion on bhakti and gyan. This topic comes again and again. Anyway, Swamiji will also talk about this. So whenever you want to understand what is bhakti, whenever you want to understand what is Aham Brahmasmi, what is Advait, you just need to remember this particular example of fish and ocean. The fish from the pond, whose real home was ocean, struggled to reach the ocean and now stands on the shore looking at the ocean, at the majesty. It can feel it, it can smell it. In every sense, it can hear the thunderous sound of its waves. And then it makes the jump. The metaphor they use often is, even there when you are in ocean, because it's a metaphor, it's an example, so let's not worry much about it. There, if you maintain your individuality, I-ness, the I-ness of mind or ego, it is known as bhakti, because nothing exists other than Supreme Brahman. It's not that this is land and that is the ocean. It's not this is world and this is Atman and this is Brahman. No, it's not that. Brahman alone exists. At some place, it appears like world. There is nothing called world. It appears. To one simple example will make the idea absolutely clear. Think of North Pole. The huge ocean, it because of the extreme cold, it turns into ice. The ice may think that I am separate and the ocean is separate. But one who knows, he knows that ice and water are same. The ice melts, becomes water. Water freezes, it becomes ice. Now, when ice is looking instead of fish, if you can bring the example of, say, an ice cube, which somehow travels to the ocean and it merges into ocean, it knows its infinite nature. It comes out. Now, can you really bring out that particular ice cube which has melted in the ocean? Actually, you cannot. These things are used as example. And Shyam Krishna beautifully used to say that God realization is something like a doll of salt entering ocean to measure its depth. When you try to measure its depth, I mean the salt doll, it will lose its identity. So that's the basic idea about bhakti and gyan that I said. Now, Swamiji had begun with Narad Bhakti Sutra. As I mentioned in the beginning, Swamiji used to take up different books and used to go on talking. And Swamiji, he was the prophet. He was a teacher. And he was a rishi. If you want to see three exalted things, the three exalted states of human beings, the most exalted, the great teacher, the great sage, and the great prophet. What's the difference between them? The prophet is one who infuses spirituality in the society. Other than prophet, nobody can infuse. Jesus was a prophet. Buddha was a prophet. They can infuse spirituality. Sages are those who come up with spiritual discoveries. Whatever you find in the Vedas, whatever you find in the Upanishads, these are the words of the sages which came to them in the depths of their meditation. Acharya, the real Acharya, although normally we use the word teacher, but Acharya is the better word. Normally, Acharya means one who gives you the knowledge of religious books or scriptures, existing scriptures. So we have this, the Vedas are there, Upanishads are there, and Ramayana, Mahabharata are there, and the books on Tantras are there, and Manusmriti is there, Bhakti literature is there. Swamiji was talking directly from these books on many occasions. For example, if you chance to read Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga, their direct interpretation by Swamiji of second chapter and third chapter of Gita. Swami is talking straight from Gita. Gyan Yoga is straight from Kathopanishad. Here, Swamiji is talking from Narad Bhakti Sutra. Like that, Swamiji was talking from various scriptures. Now, if Swamiji did not talk from certain scriptures, that does not undermine the value of that scriptures. What I mean to say that Swamiji was an acharya explaining certain scriptures, and he was a sage, he was a rishi. Kathopanishad said, Uttishtata Jagrat Prapya Varanni Bodhat. Get up, awaken, find a teacher, and attain realization. Swamiji the sage, he comes up with arise, awake, and stop, not till the goal is reached. Essentially, Swamiji is talking from the Kathopanishad, but it's an absolutely new saying. And that is what makes Swamiji a rishi. He's a rishi. And of course, he's a prophet. He himself tells in America, I have a message for the West as Buddha had message for the East. Today, this organization, that organization may claim that they have large number of followers in Europe and America. But let's not forget that it was Swami Vivekananda who tilled the land, who made the land ready for the universal spiritual messages of India to be grown there. Now, with this background given, let's see what exactly Narad had to say. Because when Swamiji will be talking, he will be talking from Narad Bhakti Sutra, and it's always a good idea to have a look at the source books. I sincerely hope that you people are not getting bored, because I assume, I take it for granted that Inspired Talks, this series of talks will be listened by only serious listeners. Even otherwise, not many listen to my talks. But then Inspired Talks is pretty serious. Narad Bhakti Sutra, it begins with what is bhakti? And naturally, when the book discusses bhakti, it also discusses bhakta, the devotee, and discusses Bhagavan, God. So here we will be discussing just the first the first aphorisms. Just 3 or 4 aphorisms, the beginning. Because Indian tradition is, whatever you have to say, you say in the beginning itself, so that if I am interested, I'll continue with your work. And if I am not interested, I'll drop. See, in what happens in Western novel, they go on creating a situation till it reaches a climax. So to know what exactly happened, you have to go through that entire thing. And at times, the whole thing will begin with a bang and end in a whimper. Indian scriptures are not like that. Whatever they have to say, they'll say in the beginning itself. And thus begins Narada. Says bhakti is what? Satvasmin param prem rupa. Actually, these sutras by Narada, they are very, very, very important to understand bhakti. And if any one of you is truly interested in knowing what is bhakti, the best book to study is Narada Bhakti Sutras. Says Satvasmin param prem rupa. Love, bhakti is the nature of supreme love of God. When you have supreme love of God, then alone it is bhakti. So, bhakti is actually like any other path. It has 2 stages, lower and the higher. Higher bhakti is known as para bhakti, supreme, superior. And lower bhakti, which is characterized by rituals, customs, mode of worship, prayers, etc., is known as apara bhakti, lower. When we say of bhakti, when we use the term bhakti, it means it both. It applies to both para and apara, the ordinary and the superior. Ordinary is characterized by, as I said, custom. So if you go and observe the devotees from any religion, you will see that a common devotee indulges in prayers, certain customs, this and that, and thousand things. And the real great souls of that particular religion, they're absorbed in God. My favorite example is there was this Rabaya, Muslim saint, and once someone told her, "Hey, you're such a great devotee of Allah, but you have never been heard criticizing Satan." There's a favorite theme of the Muslims to criticize evil. And Rabaya beautifully says, I do wish to, but my problem is that my mind is so full of God, so full of Allah. I don't find the slightest gap where I can apply my mind to Satan, to the evil. That great devotee's mind is totally absorbed in God. There is not a moment free. There is absolutely no moment free when she can apply her mind to anything else other than God. This is Parabhakti, supreme love. When we talk of Radha, when we talk of Radha and Krishna, the love that Radha had for Krishna is Parabhakti, extreme love. So here in aphorisms, every alphabet, every word counts. So tu, sa tu, asmin prem, param prem rupa. Tu means continuous remembrance, as we mentioned Rabaya. Continuous. There cannot be a single moment's gap. Under no condition there can be a single moment's gap. Totally you are absorbed in God. Completely, fully. See, the example of the fish that we took. When that fish is in the ocean, will it think of that of the pond where it was? Well, we may think, because sometimes, when we have moved from a terrible situation to a very good situation, sometimes we like to look back. God realization is not like that. God realization is when the mind, which carried all the good and bad of this world, gets completely dissolved, nothing else remains. So there can be no possibility of thinking of good or bad that was in this world. Now, when we read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we find that Sri Ramakrishna talking about his past at times. But that is because he wants to teach us how things moved for him. Any saint, he'll never apply his mind to the world. There's a constant remembrance, totally, fully. And this love, the way a mom keeps on thinking of its newborn baby all the time, one thinks of God all the time. And who is God? What is God? Very often this question comes, what is God? If you want to know what is God, it has only one explanation, only one definition, only one word for it. God is infinite. You define what you mean by infinite. You try to understand what is infinity, Ananta. Whatever your idea of infinite, we will not get into it. If you think infinite means very big, let's say, very, very, very big, like an ocean or like sky, for you, God is huge, the all powerful, who provides you with this and who provides you with that. If you say that infinite is something which cannot be described in words, well, God is like that. And if you can really understand what infinity means, truly infinite, where everything is infinite about it. No, there's a very favorite example in mathematics which they use to explain infinity, and I have used it on many occasions. That there is this infinity hotel where every room is occupied. And now comes one more guest. Can you accommodate that guest? Yes, you can. How? You can ask the person in room number 1 to move over to room number 2, and room number 2 goes to room number 3, and it goes on. So the infinity hotel, which has infinite number of rooms and infinite number of guests, can still accommodate infinite number of guests. And that's why infinity plus infinity will always be infinity. And if you take the infinite number of guests out, even then it will have infinite number of guests in that hotel. So what is infinity minus infinity? It is infinity. What is infinity plus infinity? Infinite. Does it make any sense? Oh, well, it does not make any sense to us. It really doesn't. And that's why this famous mantra, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. When you take the infinite out of the infinite, what remains? Infinite, not zero. It's infinite. So that's the only definition. Because you have merged with that infinite. And now there can be no definition of it. But bhakti is not like that. Bhakti is someone, the fish, which was standing on the shore and looking at the ocean. A devotee is like that. So devotees define bhakti as anirvachaniya prema swarupa. Anirvachaniya, that which cannot be described by words, in words. You cannot describe in words that kind of love. Swarup. His love personified. And that love personified cannot be expressed in words. You cannot say in words. You just cannot say in words what that love is. And yet it is there. See, there are many examples Sri Ramakrishna uses in his Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna to give a glimpse of what exactly this love is. For us, it's very difficult to really appreciate those things. So, what happens is this Brahman, the supreme reality which we have been mentioning for a while. When you look at it from the relative standpoint of mind, as we discussed, you're not in the ocean, you're just outside the ocean and watching. This is Ishvara. You cannot worship the infinite. In recent times, with this social media on, people of many religions keep talking about infinite God and how Hindus are stupid to worship idols. Of course, those who criticize, they don't even understand what Hinduism stands for. And there's a preacher, he goes on ranting against Hindu religion. What these people do not realize is that World means creation. Creation means mind. Till you are uttering a word, you are in the realm of mind. When you say Brahman, you are in the realm of mind. Till you are in the realm of mind, you cannot use the term Brahman. Till you are in the realm of mind, you cannot say Aham Brahmasmi. These are very fundamental things. People don't even realize it. Just talking big, explaining big, and these people who are onto the social media, oh, our God is infinite and Hindu's God is finite. What nonsense things. Do you have any understanding of what is infinity? Do you have any understanding of what is mind? Do you have any understanding of what is consciousness? Consciousness is infinite. That is Brahman. When one looks at it through the mind, and there is absolutely no way to look at it. The only way to look at it is through the mind. Because when you are not looking at it through your mind, you become one with it. And when you become one with it, you cannot look at it. Because you are one with it. There is absolutely no way that you can see your eyes. Absolutely no way. You just cannot see your eyes. The eyes can see everything in this world. You cannot see your eyes. The only way to see your eyes is to see its reflection. And for that reflection, you require a mirror. There is absolutely no way. The infinite can never be seen, can never be understood, can never be talked about. How do you do it? Through the reflection. Basically, reflection means seeing it through mind. Now, the interesting thing is, the moment you look at it through mind, it does not appear as Brahman. It does not appear as infinite anymore. It appears as God. It appears as Ishvara. That's why Vedanta talks of two different states, Brahman and God. They are not different, and yet they are different. Brahman will never fulfill any of your desires. Brahman will never give you love, nothing. It's Ishwar that does all that. Because whatever happens, any happening, is in the realm of mind. Of course, these things will keep coming again, and Swamiji will talk about all this. But these ideas being pretty subtle, we need to repeat these ideas again, and again. And till we are conscious of ourselves, till I am conscious of my body and mind, the only when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to spiritual truth, the only thing that I can conceive of in spirituality is God, the personal God. See, you can talk big of impersonal God. You can talk of Brahman and Am Brahmasmi and all that. But no, you are just using words. Because there's a state which cannot be known. There's a state which one can be, but cannot be known. You can be one with Brahman. You can be one with Atman, but you can never know it. To know implies intervention of mind. The moment mind intervenes, its form changes. Now, of course, it's not really related here in this worship. When it's worship, the worship of God, although Narad does not talk here, but we can just mention in brief. There are different concepts that can be used for worship. First is known as Saguna Sakar. For example, when we worship God as Vishnu, Sri Rama, Kali, Durga, we are worshipping him as Saguna Sakar. Then God is worshipped through Pratik and Pratima, idols. That is Vigraha. We call it Vigraha, and critics call it idols. So there has to be some symbol of it. For example, Om. Om is a pratik. Similarly, when you come to Belur Math and look at the Vigraha of Sri Ramakrishna, if anyone knows that he is not Sri Ramakrishna, he represents Sri Ramakrishna. And for a true devotee brought up in Vaishnava tradition, for him, it's a living deity. He's alive. But he's not limited in it. Third is when God incarnates as an incarnation, avatar. So all these Ram and Krishna, and they're all avatar. Now there are some people who like to worship God as Guru. Many see Guru himself as God. And there's a very strong tradition in Hindu religion in India where Guru is worshipped as God. Then there is Vishwarup, this huge wholeness and even humanity as a whole. This is also seen as God. First is humanity as a whole, and then world as a whole. This is known as Virat. Then there is Antaryamin, the conscious principle that is within you, and Atman, within you, the conscious self that is there. Antaryami is the witness, the God living inside you and looking at everything. Atman is indifferent. Atman, Atman and Antaryami are slightly different. In case of Antaryami, it is said that it kind of looks at it and gives you the basic ideas in the form that whatever your past actions and impressions, so it impels, not directly, but impels you towards that. So these are the different ideas about God. And Narad had said, Param Prem Rupa, the ultimate. Sri Ramakrishna uses three terms. He says, love for the objects, Vishayanand, love for prayer, Bhajananand, and love of God, Brahmananda. He says that generally there are three kinds of joy that one gets. Vishayananda, Ananda, joy. Joy born of sense gratification. Then Bhajanananda, joy that you get through prayers. And Brahmananda, joy that you get by becoming one with the Supreme Self. Now, in this perfect love, in that state when it becomes absolute love, what happens is you don't want anything, you just want to give, give, and give. And this is from the standpoint of the world. When we look at that ocean, well, what is its own nature? The example that we used, the fish and the ocean. Fish is looking at the ocean and maybe thinking all these things which we described. But what is the intrinsic nature of that ocean? What is the nature of that bhakti? Here we are discussing bhakti. He says, Amrit Swarupacha. It is of the nature of Amrita. Amrit again is a technical term used in religion. And Amrita has been used in religious traditions of India in many different forms. One is, whenever a yajna was performed, the end result of that, what we call, say, prasad today. If you go to mandir, you find prasad. It was known as Amrita. And says that one should take that Amrita. And in Mahabharata, etc., we come across Amrita as knowledge of Atman. Like in Mahabharata is also there, in Kathopanishad also, At Martyor Mrito Bhavati. The immortal becomes immortal. That's known as Amrita. Now, this Amrita is not really freedom from death. It's a state where you go beyond everything, all kinds of duality. Sri Ramakrishna talks about blissful experience. While talking to Naren, he talks about Amrita Kunda. He's talking about blissful experience. And what is interesting in bhakti compared to, say, Gyan is that there is no loss of individuality. There is no loss of individuality. In Atmagyan, in Atmagyan, individuality is lost. But in Bhakti, individuality is not lost. Individuality remains. See, these are a bit technical, so I'm sure you must be finding these things a bit difficult. Sri Ramakrishna told Naren, imagine there's a bowl of nectar, amrita, and you're a fly and you want to drink it. Where will you sit to drink it? Naren says, I'll sit on the edge, on the rim, and sip from there. And Sri Ramakrishna says, why? He says, no, if I fall in it, I'll die. And Sri Ramakrishna laughed at him. He says, look, it's not ordinary fluid. It is amrita. You will become immortal. You will not die. So in that highest state of amrita, you don't die. That means your individuality doesn't die. Your individuality remains. See, why I'm explaining all this? Swamiji will be talking about this. So that's why I'm just mentioning. And then he says, if you can attain that bhakti, as say Radha attained, the fourth sutra says, Yalabdva puman siddho bhavati amrito bhavati tripto bhavati. If you can attain that love, you will become blessed, siddha, amrita. You will enjoy infinite bliss. You won't have any wants left. And tripta, you'll be absolutely fulfilled. The term says that once you can get this, you realize your perfect nature, your divine nature, and you become absolutely content. No want is left in you. So, this amritatva, the bhakti that we discussed in the earlier verse, no devotee wants it. It comes to a devotee on its own. Radha wanted Krishna. In the process, she became blessed. Not that she wanted to become blessed. Not that Radha went and said, look, I want to become blessed. And that's why I want to love you. No, it's not. She says, I love you. In the process, she becomes blessed. So this unalloyed sense of joy. And once you can attain that, yat prapya na kinchit vanchati, na shochati, na dvesti, na ramte, no sahi bhavati. How do you know that a person has really attained devotion? The sutra defines that his limitedness goes away. Because his limitedness goes away, so he has no more desires for anything worldly. He is absolutely free from grief. Na kinchitva, na sochati, na dvesti. He is not jealous towards anybody because his limitedness goes away. His exclusiveness goes away. He becomes inclusive. And na ramte, he doesn't enjoy anything. And na utsahi bhavati. And nor does he become eager to attain this or to that in this world. Verse number 6 and 6, 7th and 8, these are important because Swamiji will be talking about this. Yad gyatva matto bhavati, stabdo bhavati, atma ramo bhavati. This is what really happens to a true devotee. I wonder if some of you might have seen people who smoke hemp or marijuana, particularly those sadhus. They become indifferent to the world. Actually, what happens, our scriptures describe her devotee becomes indifferent towards the world. And to get that feeling, some people started taking those drugs. Says, once you know it, mind it, bhakti is also a state of knowledge. Matta bhavati. You become intoxicated with it. And stabdo bhavati. You become totally lost to the world. World loses any meaning, any significance. But above all, Atma Ramo Bhavati. You stay in the joy of your own being. Nothing else matters to you. I'm just, hurrying through these verses because I'm just trying to give you an idea. Above all, the character of bhakti is that it doesn't demand. Bhakti always gives. Sana kamaya mana nirodha rupatvat. Dear listeners, if you are really interested in spirituality, and if you think that there's a little, very little awakening in you, remember this sutra number 7. Sa na kamaya mana. Bhakti is not of the nature of desire. If there is any desire left in you, other than being one with God, then it's not true bhakti. If you say that, oh God, may I have this, it's not bhakti. If you say that, oh God, may the world prosper, it's not bhakti because it's desire. Any kind of desire, any kind, even praying for the welfare of others, there's a desire. He says, why? Nirod rupatvat. Bhakti is of the nature of nirod. It stops. In Yoga Sutras, we know of chitta vritti nirod, where all the mental thoughts are completely stopped. Bhakti is also that state where all your thoughts are stopped. Let's go back to the example of that fish. Once the fish reaches the shore of that ocean, will it really be thinking of the travels of the journey? Will it be thinking of its spawn? No. It will be lost in the grandeur of the ocean. Nothing else remains. Everything else goes away. Nothing remains. If you have slightest of desires left, Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of putting a thread through the eye of the needle. If you have even the slightest small thread, something sticking out, it cannot enter. It just can't. Hence says, Sana kamaya mana nirod rupatvat. See, there are those famous examples of, say, persons like Laila Majnu. Laila Majnu is a beautiful story that depicts the love of a devotee for God. Laila comes from the word Allah. That's what Sufis say. And Majnu comes from Majnoon, to get absorbed. These are the basics of Narad Bhakti Sutra. Just I mentioned 5 or 6 sutras. Now Swamiji begins. He says, extreme love to God is bhakti. And this love is the real immortality, getting which a man becomes perfectly satisfied, sorrows for no loss, and is never jealous, knowing which man becomes mad. Stabdo bhavati. Matto bhavati, stabdo bhavati. Just now we mentioned. So we'll see that Swamiji is not talking from one sutra to the next because he must have talked. There is no way he won't talk. But Ms Waldo, she did not remember everything. It's not possible. And Swamiji used to be so charged while talking. It was practically impossible for her to note down everything. And she was taking long hints, that too after the class. So she begins from here. And then Swamiji says, my master used to say this world is a huge lunatic asylum where all men are mad. Some after money, some after women, some after name or fame, and a few after God. I prefer to be mad after God. See, although Swamiji is quoting Sri Ramakrishna, but these are his words too. In recent times, you might have heard of this word, passion. Be passionate about what you do. Basically, they may mean to say that be mad. Be mad. Passion, it's never a good word. A young man will say, I'm passionate about this female and I'll burn down the world to get her. Will you permit it? No, you will not. When we talk of the great achievers, somewhere they're passionate. Sri Ramakrishna puts it in very simple words. They are the ordinary beings who let their life go somehow. And there are those people who are deep into it. They're kind of crazy, gone crazy about certain things. I want this and I must have this. These are the folks who are mad after wealth. These are the folks who are mad after women, name or fame, or something. So fine, if it's a lunatic asylum where everyone is mad, you might have heard of a very beautiful, it is a joke, I don't know how true it is, but I have heard it so many times, that there's a possibility that it might be true. There's a famous asylum, mental cure center in Ranchi. It's a very famous, it's of national fame. I said that once Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru ji, he had come to visit. So he was visiting through that, and then someone asked him, who are you? He says, I'm Jawaharlal Nehru. So the inmate, he laughed. He says, we have quite a few Nehrus here and presidents also here. The idea being, you are also mad. If you are in mental care center, people will take you for a lunatic. And this world is a great lunatic asylum where everyone is gone crazy. Oh, you want something, you go crazy. And you get it, you go crazy. There's a very interesting story. I heard it from one of the monks only. It says that there was a visitor to this lunatic asylum, and he found one gentleman cooing very softly in very soft tunes. Lulu, Lulu, Lulu. Very softly. And the walls of his cell was filled up with Lulu, 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 Lulu. The visitor asked, so what's this Lulu? Oh, she's a very beautiful girl. And this fellow fell for her. And he didn't get. And he has gone crazy. So visitor felt sad. After visiting here and there, he found another cell. And there the person was banging his head against the wall, shouting and screaming, Lulu, 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 Lulu. Says this Lulu, what kind of girl she is? She dissed him too. The guide said, no. Lulu married this person. So see, both ways you are gone. First, you're crazy about something we are not getting. And you get it, and then you go crazy. So why not be crazy about God? Certain things that we discussed, and I'm sure many of you will have to listen to this talk once again, because we have been discussing in nutshell what Narad Bhakti Sutra is about and what Bhakti is about. And if you go through it once again, you will realize that, as Swamiji said, quoting Sri Ramakrishna, if you go crazy about God, at least you will not be suffering from the world. All these sufferings that you get from the world, you will not be getting. So, God is the philosopher's stone that turns us to gold in an instant. Unlike getting that proverbial lulu, which drives you mad, God turns you into gold. The form remains, but the nature is changed. This example is used by many teachers. Philosopher's stone is that proverbial stone, paras pattar, says that if you touch iron with it, it turns into gold. The human form remains, but no more can we hurt or sin. Now, that's the thing. Once you know God, you become inclusive. There's no one left whom you would like to cheat. There's no one left whom you would like to hurt. Because you become indifferent to the world. And you find the entire humanity and you find the entire universe as one with God. And you never like to hurt your loved one. You hurt only those whom you hate. Once you have realized God, you know that God alone exists. And every form that is there is that of God. And then Swamiji continues, thinking of God, some weep, some sing, some laugh, some dance, some say wonderful things, but all speak of nothing but God. This comes from much later sutra, but it's coming from Narad Bhakti Sutra itself. That this is how a true devotee lives in the world once he is gone intoxicated with the love of God. So with that begins the June 24 discourse by Swamiji. We will continue with this discussion on Bhakti. So our time is up. Here we end. Thank you so much. Now, in case you have any question related directly to what we have discussed, because see, there is no end to asking questions. So you can please write the questions. I'll try to cover them as much as I can. And if I find something more important, we will try to cover it in the next class. I try to be as clear as possible in my explanations. So I generally hope that there won't be many questions. So anyway, in case you have any. No, nothing is coming. So thank you so much. Oh, just a second. In Infinity Hotel Paradox, you have mentioned if infinite guests vacate the hotel, there still be inform infinite still. Yes. Yes, Shankar. Uh, Now Rita Pal asks if you give us all sutras. Now come on, this is, I mean, these things are not really welcome. You will find this book anywhere. Narad Bhakti Sutra is freely available anywhere. Even on internet you will find. You have to just type Narad Bhakti Sutras and you will get. Now, if you give us all sutras, when we take infinite from it, still infinite. But Shankar, you will have to think, and there are some very beautiful books on infinity, not from Indian writers. You can read them. See, I offer the gist. If you want more detail, you need to go. Durva Pramanik, is God a person? My God, after all this discussion, you ask, is God a person? God, we have been discussing God is infinite. How can a person be infinite? I don't know. Why people are unwilling to know self or God? No, 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 no. Everyone is knowing self or God only, self or soul only. Just that they love soul in that form. See, in this world, there is nothing other than, for example, those of you who are not well aware with our discussions, Atma means many things. Atma. This Deha, this body, this is also an Atma. This is known as Dehatma. Then Buddhi, this is also known as Atman. Then there is that soul inside it. This is Jivatma. and there is Shuddhatma. Everything is Atman. When you love something, you consider that to be your Atman. So your correct question would be, why everyone does not want to know the Shuddhatma, the infinite soul? But why should anyone? Creation is meant for the fun. Creation is meant for enjoying the finite. If finite had no value, there wouldn't have been creation. Why bother? You think of your problem. You think, do you want to remain satisfied with the finite, or you want the bliss of infinite? Why bother about others? They want to enjoy finite, so they are enjoying finite. Do you want to enjoy finite, or you want to enjoy infinite? Don't worry about others. Sonu Datta, don't try to preach others. Don't be worried about others. You think what you want. So Kalyan Boroi says, does Bhakti word has root, word and meaning? Yes, it comes from Bhaj Dhatu. Bhaj. Bhaj means to pray. Pray, love in that sense. Bhakti, Bhajna. In fact, in Mahabharata, etc., we come quite often across this expression where a husband is telling this wife, Bhakti, you. Bhakti is used in the sense of love. Now here comes Suchandra Kaur. If we are the part and parcel of the infinite, why do we take what? Why this creation? Where is their creation? Do we come with? Now look, I'll need 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes time. There's a very beautiful Upanishad, Prashnopanishad. In Prashnopanishad, there were some sages, they had some question. And they went to a very famous sage called Shaunak. And they asked, "Oh sage Shaunak, we have some questions." Shaunak Muni said, "Stay in my ashram for 1 year, live a simple life, pray, meditate. After 1 year, ask me the question. If I know the answer, I'll give you." Similar story happens with Brahma and Indra and Virochana. Indra is the king of gods, Virochana is the king of asuras. They went to Brahma, Prajapati, asking question. Prajapati said the same thing. You stay here, pray and meditate for 1 year and then ask me a question. See, to ask question, you need to have preparation. This reminds me, I was a new brahmachari, a young man at Devghar. And then once I was teaching in class 4, the kids. And one day, we were in a lighter mood. So I asked them, "Tell me kids, let's have some discussion. You can ask me anything you want." Simple things. So one kid got up and told, "Please explain to me how atom bomb is made." Now even I did not know how atom bomb is made. The class 4 boy, he just wants to know atom bomb. He has heard atom bomb. And he wants to know how atom bomb is made. I hope he wouldn't have asked me next. Now please give me a live demo. So dear friend Suchandra Kaur, if you really want to know answers to this, I have around 800 videos on YouTube. Please go through all my videos. And the day you go through all my videos, at least English and Bengali, after that, if you have this question, I'll answer you. Just don't be those typical shallow-minded who is always bubbling up with questions. Have preparations. Study. Be ready for it. Once Meghnad Saha, the famous physicist, one of his classmates was a monk in Ramakrishna mission. So Meghnad Saha says, "Can you explain God to me?" So this Swami Nirvedananji said, "Can you explain theory of relativity to this rickshaw puller?" Meghnad Saha, how? He doesn't know anything of physics. How can I? He says, you know nothing of religion and spirituality. How can I explain God to you? Dear listeners, dear friends, I am not into spiritual entertainment. I am not even here for your spiritual curiosity. I am disseminating knowledge. If you are really eager to know something, please prepare yourself. Read books, study, contemplate, listen to my talks. I've tried to cover all the major scriptures, and all these questions that you might ask have already been covered. So now it's meaningless to go on repeating the same thing. The part and parcel of infinity. Can there be part of infinity? Is this what you understand of part? Infinity can never have any part. Infinity will always be infinity. Anyway, whatever I had to say, I said. Anyway, thank you so much. I've overshot. Thank you. Here we end.